Welcome back. So, as promised, we're going to be talking about our first cruise with Norwegian Cruise Lines today. It took us a little bit longer than we anticipated. We had a lot going on. We had a friend get married, and they were in the wedding, and it's been crazy. So, anyways, first cruise was on the Norwegian Bliss to Alaska. So our first cruise was actually with Carnival, and we loved it so much we're like, we're going on another cruise. That's what we're gonna do. And we decided to immediately after our cruise, because we went to Western Caribbean, and so we did Mexico and like Belize and Honduras, just that little
Was that in what, 2022?
Yeah, 2022 in October. So we started looking into Alaskan cruises, and we were enticed by the NCL deals that were pushed to us when among all the Google searches. So we really liked that they took care of our flights.
We didn't have to worry about booking them.
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about anything, finding them. We didn't have to worry about finding low prices, high prices.
Nope.
Any of that. This is how much you're charged. You've got flights. You've got transportation to the cruise ship. Done.
It was really nice. So that was a lot less stress than we had anticipated for planning a big cruise.
I didn't want to schedule flights because I didn't want the worry of
how do we get to the port?
Yeah,
and all
are we
that?
gonna have enough time? What if a flight gets delayed? All that stuff.
Yeah.
They handled it. We had insurance for it.
Yeah. And then from then on our flights, our boarding was pretty straightforward. If you want to know about our itinerary, we just did a video about that last. So you can look back and see where all we went. But so boarding was pretty straightforward after we did the bus from the flight to the port. Sorry, the word escaped me. And we got to be in our room really early on. This was the first cruise.
Sorry, I'm getting accosted by the dogs.
We've been gone all day, so they've missed us. This was like I said, the first cruise to Alaska of the season out of any cruise line. So they had just done a whole crew change the week before, we heard, and they had just got done training, so it was already empty for us. So I'm not sure if that plays into it, but we got to get in our room a lot earlier than we did on the Carnival cruise.
Yeah. We also were later in the afternoon, I think.
That's true. We did board a lot later.
Yeah, because our flights didn't get in until late.
Yeah, we didn't. You got to choose, from like 11 to whatever. And because our flights got in so late, we had like the last available boarding.
Yeah.
Honestly, the port was a little confusing, but with it being the first one, I'm gonna give them a pass.
Yeah, they didn't have their line set up.
Yeah, it was hard to tell because one line said like casino, and then
one was like preferred,
and we were
we're not told you need to be in that line, even though we weren't part of the preferred.
Yeah,
and then they're like, oh, you're not part of the preferred, you shouldn't be this. When we finally got down to the end, but
yeah, so it was a little confusing, but like I said. First one, there's probably some kinks that they hadn't worked out yet. And there was also a confusion with my parents doing the muster drill. We had all watched the video beforehand and checked in, but the people at their station told them that they didn't need to worry about anything. They were fine. And then they ended up being called by the captain to go and do stuff. And so it was a whole thing, but it worked out. It just, I think they had a little bit more training that needed to be done before everything happened. But so then when we first got on board, we were really hungry because all we'd had was stuff at the airport, and it was extremely difficult to find somewhere to eat.
Yeah, there was not a lot of places opening. Yeah,
so like the main dining rooms were closed, and the buffet was just swamped. So we decided to go up a couple decks to the American Diner, and we had lunch there.
We didn't eat there for the rest of the trip.
No, if that tells you anything, we were like, we're not coming back here.
And the service was, I don't want to be mean, but it was bad.
It was
like,
I had to get my own drink, and then someone was like, why are you getting your own drink? And I was like, well, no. nobody
Yeah,
was getting it. So it was just it was very confusing. Like I said, first day for a lot of them, I'm trying to be understanding, but it was a little difficult, and we didn't like anything we ate there, really. So
No, they didn't care for the American at all.
yeah, and then we went down and got our first drinks. The beverage package is another part that is included in your cruise fare, and I will say the bartenders not light-handed.
No.
Very heavy pours.
Yeah.
And so you're not shortchanged at all.
Yeah, they're not trying to skimp on it.
You can get a
It
little tipsy.
My only issue with, I think, the bartenders was not... A lot of the places didn't serve a lot of drinks. Like, they'd have, like, 3 drinks they'd serve. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And then another bar would have a different 3 drinks. And so you'd kind of have to...
And if you
even
told
simple
them...
ones.
Yeah, and if you told them a drink, sometimes they wouldn't understand you, and you'd get something completely off the wall. And... Yeah. I mean, that was obviously a language barrier, but, like, you ordered... What did you order? The Irish coffee? Or... No, you ordered a mudslide, and it was... What did they give you?
It was weird.
It was weird. It was...
Yeah, and I mean...
It was just...
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the bartenders are trained specifically for a certain amount of drinks. There's a couple of bartenders that are overall bartenders, like an actual bartender where they know how to make drinks. And then you've got a number of the bartenders that are just trained how to make 3 or 4. And that's all they know how to do.
Yeah. I think our favorite bar ended up being the one that was right outside the Cavern Club.
Yes.
It was really nice, and they have nice sitting area. The one across from it was the tequila bar, and that seemed to be really crowded, and everybody went there. And this one was more like whiskey based, but it ended up being our favorite, so we went there almost every single day.
They had a good Manhattan that I liked.
That was the Atrium.
Oh, that was the Atrium.
Atrium? Was it Atrium or was it Alchemy?
I think...
I don't remember. I'm getting confused. It was in between the Cagney Steakhouse and the Mexican restaurant, and it was right there. Oh my goodness. A-list? The A-list bar. Yeah. It was really good.
It was.
That was our second. That was our favorite, but because it was kind of out of the way, we didn't go there super often. But so the one by the Cavern Club was pretty much our go-to.
It was a whiskey lounge.
Yes.
It had really nice furniture.
It did. And I was like, I want this couch in my house.
Like green velvet.
Yeah. So then we went to our room, and we were on deck 12 aft. And on our last cruise, we had been on deck 2 in the center, mid. Mid is what it's called. I'm sorry, y'all. So mid. And it was a little bit loud. And this room was so quiet.
Yeah, it was difficult though because you had to go
all the way
down, and then you had to come back like halfway because ours, for whatever reason they don't have a hallway out. I guess they'd knock out one room they couldn't have,
and the crew area, everything.
But yeah, it was quite a bit of a walk because you had to go all the way down to the end, and then you had to come back in about half of the quarter of the ship.
Just remember the fish face forward.
That actually helped a lot.
Yeah.
It was all the hallways look identical. There's no distinguishing other than the fish on the floor.
So we also are big proponents of interior rooms. You save a little bit of money and you get the best sleep of your life in those rooms.
Pitch black.
Nice and cold, and it's typically pretty quiet.
We've not had any issues with neighbors keeping us up.
Nope, never.
Like, we've heard people talking, arguing.
I mean, you'll hear a little bit.
But
and you'll have excited kids running down the hallway, but that's true literally anywhere.
Yeah, and it's not loud. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, we stayed at Disney, and we had kids screaming on our balcony. Literally screaming on the balcony.
It was so bad.
And I know that we sound like old people, like, are you kids?
Are you kids?
But, like, they were in front of our door screaming.
Yeah.
So,
it was pretty bad.
This was not anything like that.
No. And then after a while, we took a nap because I was so exhausted from traveling, and with all my health problems, I needed a little bit of rest. And then we went downstairs and got our first meal in the main dining room. It was meh. It was okay. It was edible. Yeah. The servers were nice, but that was just the first day. It was okay though. Other than that, though, dining, complete nightmare.
Yeah, dining was
Dining,
down.
I kept seeing on every table they have this thing that says no one does dining like Norwegian, and every time I just thought, that's probably a good thing. It was a mess. And reservations, basically impossible to come by. And even if you did have reservations, they'd stick you in the line with everybody else and you'd have to wait. It mattered. It did not matter at all if you had a reservation or not, unless you were in like the signature dining rooms, which I think is what their game is.
Yeah.
Honestly, they really want you to just go ahead and go to the signature dining because it was ridiculous. And everybody we talked to was like, this is the worst it's ever been. And we actually were in the hot tub with this one couple who had only cruised Carnival, and they're like, what is this dining?
Yeah. They make this big deal about not having to have specific dining times. And when we were on Carnival, you had the reservation, you had a guaranteed table. Well, what time was it? 6:30 for us?
I think we did 5:30 because we did early dining.
So we had a guaranteed table at 5:30. So if at 5:30 came around and we were hungry, we could sit down immediately and start eating. No fuss, nothing, no waiting in line. Here, we started planning dinner 4 o'clock. Well, they weren't open. And then by the time we got there at exactly open, or even 20, 30 minutes before, there was already a line.
Yeah.
And then 5:30 came around and the line was even longer. So there was no time to like, oh, I'm hungry, let's go eat. It was, let's plan 2 hours ahead to go eat.
Let's go ahead and get in line.
Hopefully it's open.
It was just the most ridiculous thing. And it really, the main thing that you want to do when you're cruising is be able to get food and enjoy it. Like, that is everyone's usually top thing that they say. Top 5 thing. So it really brought the whole trip down, honestly. It was so difficult. And their hours are stupid.
Yeah.
And because of their port times, everybody's coming back on the ship at around lunchtime, and they're closed.
Yeah, there's no food
There's
available.
no food. You have to go to the local, and then there's an extremely long wait because literally 4,000, 5,000 people are
going to this
waiting
one place
because there's only one spot open. You can go down to the observation lounge, but they're disgusting in there. The people that were in there were the rudest people, the most disgusting people. We saw people shaving their feet, the scales off their feet on the furniture in there. Like, I've never been dealt with people who were so rude and just blatantly...
Not the staff.
No.
We're talking about
the other
passengers,
guests.
But it was gross. It was weird.
Yeah.
I've not dealt on the other cruise. It wasn't.
It's
there was places to sit.
Yes.
You could find places to sit. There were places that were crowded, but there was also places you could sit
And
if you
just
didn't
sit.
mind.
There wasn't anything else. Like, if you go in the main atrium area, there's people hassling you to join in something, and it's like, I just want to sit down in a chair and enjoy the time. You could go on the ocean, but like I said, it's Alaska. I will say, I don't think the Bliss is really made for an Alaskan cruise. It just doesn't make any sense.
Did not have enough seating.
There was not enough seating for it being a cold cruise.
Yeah.
At all. You could go outside. We spent a lot of time outside. We would just bundle up and it was fine.
Yeah.
But it was ridiculous. The garden cafe, the buffet, complete unorganized mess.
Yeah.
There was no set starting line. You would have the dishes on one side, so you'd think, oh, the line starts here. And everyone else no, the line starts back here. And I'm like,
yeah.
On Carnival, it was very
clear.
Here's where your line starts. Go get your food. You meet in the middle, and then you go. There's 2 lines. They're serving the same thing. And also, on the Carnival, if I remember correctly, and I feel like I do, it was kind of a gradual rollover from breakfast to lunch. One station would change, and then they'd move down. So there was always something in the buffet until they closed for the evening.
Yeah.
And they just shut down the whole buffet, and they're like, we're closed until 4 o'clock.
Yeah, for a pretty long time. And there's you literally only had the local.
You had the local. That was it. And the local has such limited options. They make it sound on the website like they have this whole array of things you can order. You can't.
No.
It was always packed, especially when you're coming back from port, because it was literally the only thing you could eat unless you went to your room and ordered room service.
Yeah.
There was no main dining, there was no buffet. You could get snacks in the observation lounge, but like I said, you couldn't sit in there, so you'd have to get your snacks and walk. And it's not like they have trays for you to carry it, so yeah. It was just a mess. And I don't know if it was just because it's a different demographic than what we experienced on Carnival, but I don't feel like we ran into nearly as many rude people on Carnival as we did on this cruise. It was insane how awful people were. Yeah. I mean, it was more rare to find a nice person than a rude person. And I don't know. That was very stressful for me. And then with the ports, like, if you look at other vlogs that I've been watching from people who are on our cruise, everyone's saying the same thing. Like, they do not give you enough time in port. Mm-hmm. Not even close. And then I found out that they have their own ports, and they're typically very far out from everybody else. Everybody else at ports in towns, and NCL makes you shuttle, which eats up the very limited time you have in port.
We didn't have a full day port, did we?
Nope. We were only there very early morning. Like, we would get there at 6 a.m. and then you'd have to wait for the all clear, and then you could get off. So we'd be getting off at about 7, and then they called you back on by 11 or so.
Yeah. There was no, like, when we were in the Carnival one, we had ports from like 9 o'clock to 6, 5.
Yeah, we were there all day.
Yeah, like an entire day on beach. And here, I mean, there were literally people who, they said they got off as soon as they could. They went to the glacier. They spent an hour there, and then they immediately had to come back. And fortunately, they were part of the tour group, because they said they got barely back on before disembarkation. So I mean, if people on tour groups are struggling to do it, if you're not doing a tour and you just want to go see the glacier for a minute, there's no way you're making it.
So, if you're on NCL, I would not recommend you even try to do an excursion on your own. You basically have to do it through them. Maybe that's why they do short ports. I feel like they really try to gouge you at every possible turn, which I know that's kind of a thing with cruising, but we did not experience it to that level at all on our first cruise. So, and getting back on board is stressful too. There's always, I feel like we set off the alarm every single time, and we never had anything. Like, we didn't bring anything back with us. Yeah. So I don't understand. Anyways, it was just ridiculous. But yeah, overall, the dining situation and the port times, it just kind of sucked the fun out of the trip. Like, we'd get back to our room and we'd be like, ugh, can you believe all this stuff that we're dealing with?
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. One thing with the dining, it's just really difficult not being able to get food. Like, not even like, oh, I want something nice. Like, just not being able to get food when you're hungry at all, and having to wait a couple hours. Like, I mean, even when I'm at work, I can stop and go get a snack. They didn't have snacks. Like, there's no place to, like, oh, I'm really thirsty. I don't want this.
I don't want any alcohol right now. I want water. And, like, it'd be really hard to find the water station because the Garden Cafe was closed.
Yeah.
I don't know. And also with the dining rooms, the two smaller ones, Taste and Savor, they tended to have really bad service. Yeah. But the Manhattan room, which was the big main dining room, they had really good service. So,
but you had to have reservations for those. And all the reservations were pretty much gone by the time the cruise started. I know there's a lot of people like, oh, you should be making your reservations in advance. But, I mean, what's the point of not having a specific dinner time reservation if you have to make all your reservations in advance? Like, the whole thing about Norwegian is like, oh, we don't have reservations, a guaranteed dinner time. But what's the point of not having a guaranteed dinner time if you have to make a reservation for a guaranteed time? Exactly. Like, it's the same thing. Except now it's harder for people who think, oh, I can just walk up to Savor or Taste and eat dinner, and it's now an hour and a half, and the dining room closes
And so
in an
they
hour and
turn you away.
45 minutes.
They will turn you away.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, oh, we're closing in an hour and 45 minutes, and you have an hour wait, so you may as well just go, because they won't serve you.
Yeah.
It was just...
It was
That
really
the
strong.
whole experience, we both came off of it going, just based on the dining alone. Even if the other things, just on the dining, we will not do another Norwegian cruise.
I think it was, honestly, by the second day, I decided I wasn't going to be coming back on Norwegian.
Yeah.
And I mean, I enjoyed Alaska. We talked about it last video.
Oh, Alaska was...
I loved Alaska. Cannot hype it enough. But not being able to get food within a couple hours of wanting to get food, the weirdest experience I've had.
Especially when you're on a cruise and there's all this food that you're supposed to be able to eat. No.
Yeah, like, it's such a big hype of going on a cruise is, you know, breakfasts. And I think we only ate breakfast like 3 times.
Not even 3. I think we only did it twice. And it was such a downer. Because that's our thing on cruises. We get up early, we eat breakfast. Like, that's our thing. And it was so difficult.
Yeah.
Because the ports times, it was just a mess.
Yeah, even on sea days, it was rough.
And we only had like 1 sea day.
We had 2, but yeah.
Well, the other one doesn't really count because we went to Victoria, but yeah,
I
so
guess that's true.
2. So those were the only 2 days we had breakfast.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Also the activities, extremely lackluster. And the fun activities that you would really want to do, like your karaoke, all that stuff, you were either eating dinner when that happened or you were in port. Like, they planned the fun activities when they knew nobody was going to be around to do them.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was such a letdown because we did karaoke on Carnival. We did the trivia night. We did all that fun stuff. And I was expecting that. And no.
And, like, I know a lot of people think, like, well, you should have looked ahead. Everything Norwegian had for the cruise was super vague on activities and stuff. They didn't tell you, and then most of the stuff they did tell you about beforehand, it changed by the time we got on board.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to seeing 6. And they canceled it like 2 months before we went on.
Yeah, they had built it since I
built
booked
that
it.
up.
So we booked...
Like 6!
Well, we booked right after our cruise in 2022.
Yeah.
So, like, in November, I had booked this cruise. So from November of 2022 until, like, January of 2024, they're like, it's going to be 6. And then at the last moment, they switched to a different one.
Well, they had 6 and Jersey Boys.
They just
they just cut 6.
Yeah.
Jersey Boys was wonderful, though. That was by far the best show I've seen in a while, honestly. And the actors were amazing. The girls were a little off. Like, I hate to be that person, but the guys had very strong vocals, and they were very good actors. I think it's because the girls had to play so many parts, and so, yeah, but it was a good show. And the Beatles experience, they were wonderful. They were good. He doesn't like the Beatles, but my daughter and I loved it, and my parents loved them too, so they were top-notch. The Beatles experience from Argentina, and they were really good. And then also the kids club. So it was fine. Our daughter enjoyed it, but it was very limited. So every day they'd be like, "Oh, sorry, we're booked," or whatever. We ended up getting in there almost every single time, but they have like a cap of 150 kids, and that's pretty low for as big of a ship that it is. And they didn't even tell us about limits on Carnival.
Yeah.
So I don't know what was going on with that, but it was hit really quickly. Like, sometimes we'd be the last kid drop off, and they put up the sign, and people would be so mad.
Because you have to wait in line. Like,
They won't tell you.
You'll wait in line 45 minutes to an hour, and then they're like, sorry, no more.
Like,
and it's like, just tell us.
Tell us how many kids spots you have left. Like,
yeah.
It was so stressful. And then she would come out, and she kept asking if we could go back to our other cruise because the other kids club was fun, and that just kind of made us sad.
Yeah.
Because while she she did fine, and she made some crafts and had some fun. She said that it wasn't as fun as the last one, and that kind of made us sad. And that wasn't prodding on our hand. That was straight up just something she told us. So.
Yeah.
And then, let's see. Oh, we wrote that we were going to talk about Cagney's, and that was really good. That was one dining experience that was.
We almost did not get our specialty dining.
Yeah, we should have booked that before the cruise.
I disagree with that. I think that you should be able to get one night in without booking in advance, personally.
Just how fast they were to be like, oh, you don't need a reservation. Like, I went to look at putting in a reservation before, and it was like, you don't need reservations on Norwegian.
Yeah,
and
you have to have reservations on Norwegian.
Yeah, so, yeah, we barely got to get that, but it
was good.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. That was like our one like really good meal, and it was while we were going through the Endicott Fjord. So beautiful. that was beautiful and nice.
We saw a bunch of glaciers. It was
yeah. And but a lot of the staff, again, like some of the staff were wonderful. There was one guy in particular, and he was the manager of the main dining room, Manhattan. His name was Ronnie, and he was amazing.
He was fantastic.
He was the best person on the entire cruise, and we even told him, we wrote him on your hero card. We wanted to make sure that he got all the props because he went above and beyond. He was literally the only staff member that did that. There were so many of the staff that looked so just pissed off that you even dared to ask them to do something for you.
Yeah, it was difficult getting water at the table.
Dining table. Like I was like, can I get a refill of water? And literally a waitress went, I was like...
Yeah, like you'd spend 20 minutes and your order wouldn't be taken, 30 minutes and your order wouldn't be taken.
Yeah, I was like, can we get this?
Like,
and they would just sigh and be like, you were the biggest inconvenience. And I was like, this is what I did not like that.
Like, I understand there's a lot of people out there who are really demanding, but like, at a certain point, you've waited 45 minutes in line. You've waited another 30, 35 minutes to get served.
About that was just, and we heard that some people made it better for them by tipping beforehand. And I was like, you really shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah. I mean,
like, I shouldn't have to get, like, here's money, treat me with respect. Like,
yeah, we've paid our gratuity.
We've paid all the gratuity. We've paid everything. I will tip you. I will. But I don't want to have to... I don't know how I'm explaining. I feel like, yeah, I don't need to bribe you to be nice to me and do your job. I don't know. And then the last point is, while cruise toilet paper is notoriously bad,
Norwegian's is the worst. Think of the worst toilet paper you've ever used, and this is worse.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
Like, it hurt.
Yeah.
Like, it was so bad. My poor baby was crying when we had to wipe her. Like, it was so bad. It was so bad.
It started bleeding on day 2.
It was the
it was bad.
We complained a little on Carnival because it was like, oh, this is uncomfortable. But it was so bad.
It was the worst. And it seems like such a wimpy thing to complain about.
I know,
but like I have never used toilet paper that bad. Like, I've been to national parks.
We have very I don't want to say cheap mothers.
Our parents don't like nice
no, I wouldn't
paper.
say parents. It's specifically our moms.
Our moms don't like nice toilet paper. So like, I grew up using single ply.
Yeah.
But we never resorted to using, I won't even say the cheap stuff.
Sandpaper!
Like, there's cheap toilet paper.
And then there's Norwegians.
And I don't think it's any cheaper or better for their sewage system. It's just not a good toilet paper.
It's so bad.
Like, there's no way.
It's so bad, y'all. You don't understand how bad it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're gonna end on that note about the toilet paper. Anyways, overall, the beauty of Alaska made our trip wonderful. We want to go back.
I don't regret going.
Don't regret it.
I don't even regret going on Norwegian. I think I would have preferred going on somewhere else. But I don't regret spending the money to go to Alaska.
No.
Even if Norwegian was a letdown.
Yeah.
I would definitely do a different cruise line.
Yeah.
But I would definitely still go to Alaska.
Everyone said Princess, so we're going to do that next. So stay tuned for that one. But that'll probably be, honestly, a couple years because my friend just got engaged today. So we got another wedding to plan for. Alrighty. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry if it got a little rambly or felt, I don't know. The words keep falling out of my head. I think I need a nap. So anyways, see you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed watching. Bye.
See ya.